Hey, Bayek, it's me, Ian. And in today's video, well, I'm continuing my look at the Alfred Hitchcock Masterpiece Collection box set. And this is Torn Curtain from 1966. And this is really a Cold War thriller with that Hitchcock touch, which is wonderful. However, though I'm saying that, this film does have certain problems in some ways, because people were not very pleased with it. They just see Hitchcock is not as good anymore, and you're thinking, why do they think this? And there are various reasons for that, which I think I'll go into. But in my mind, it's Hitchcock, and it's another good film. Okay, it follows a real run of excellent, superb films, really high class. And then this one comes on. But I put that behind me. I enjoyed it. I had a really good time with it. And I think that's what counts, really, isn't it? Let's go into it. It's 128 minutes long. Rotten Tomatoes give it 63%, which is a bit higher maybe than I thought it would be, because some of the reviews I read were pretty shocking. So that's, I think, reflected more as we look back today and seeing, that it isn't as bad as they said it was at the time. Now, I think one of the major problems is this, that it's written by Willis Hall and Keith Waterhouse. Keith Waterhouse, we've come across, he was a great journalist and novelist and writer. We've looked at Billy Liar, that he was very much involved in the book and the film. But anyhow, they were involved in this process of writing. But the screenplay is credited to Brian Moore. Hitchcock had brought him in. He wasn't happy at all with this, but there was a lot of pressure now with this script. And for various reasons, Hitchcock had to start filming, and he wasn't totally happy with the script, and he had to get on filming. Particularly as this film really shows that he didn't have a great deal of control in terms of casting as well. He wasn't happy with the leads in this film. They weren't ones that he would have chosen, but again, he's having to do that. And this doesn't suit Hitchcock at all, because Hitchcock likes to control, and he didn't on this. The budget was $3 million, and he felt far too much of that budget was spent on the salaries of the two leads. And it did make, though, $13 million. So, I mean, you can't knock that. It's maybe not as giant amounts, but it's still a good amount, and the public still like Hitchcock. And let's be honest, this is a really good film that the public, it would appeal to the public. It's got his style. It's got the humour's still there in places. There's a lot of things that are really strong in this film. So I've gone through that, and of course it's directed by Alfred Hitchcock. And as I say, this also is a landmark in films in terms of, for him, Hitchcock, this is the film where he fired Bernard Herrmann, who had written the score for the film, but he wasn't happy with it. And we get a new composer, which is John Addison. But we know what Bernard Herrmann's score was like. He recorded it. We've seen, and a lot of people then look at that and say, yes, this would have helped the film a lot more. The fact that he's not in this film, devalues the film. I think there's that mentality very much in there. So, oh, also, I just always, before I start getting into the cast, I always like to mention in the film, because I think you always like to know when Hitchcock makes his appearance in this film. It's 8 minutes in. He's getting it in fairly early on. He's in a hotel, holding a baby on his knee, and you cannot mistake it. It's very much there. You see Hitchcock. Okay, let's get into the cast. The cast is headed by Paul Newman. He is the star, and he plays Professor Michael Armstrong. I mean, what can I say about Paul Newman? When I started to look at the kind of films that he was in and the respect that he had in terms of films that he'd done, it's interesting. I'll just talk about some of his films. The Hustler, 1961. That is such a well-known, iconic film that he made his real name in that film. Then there's Hood, 1963. Then Cool and Luke, 1967. That is a very good film. And then there's this sort of sequence of films that, well, I'll just name. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, 1969, award-winning. The Sting, 1973, award-winning again. The Towering Inferno, 1974, award-winning. Then there's well-thought films like Fort Apache, The Bronx, 1981. The Verdict, 1982, that's very well thought of. And The Colour of Money from 1986, directed by Scorsese, and is a direct sequel to The Hustle from 1961. Yeah, amazing. Then there's The Hoodsucker Proxy, 1994. And, now this is an interesting film, The Road to Perdition, 2002. That is a film that doesn't really get talked about much. And why it's interesting, a very dark, different kind of film. Tom Hanks. Yeah, Tom Hanks is in that film as well. He's one of the stars in it. Amazing. So what a great set of work he's got. But the problem was he's very much a method actor, and I think he was expecting from Hitchcock, in terms of how he saw it, about discussing the character and all this, but Hitchcock's not interested in that. Hitchcock wants the good shots. He pays the money to a good actor, and that is their job. It's not his job, and that he knows he should. There's a good actor, they should be able to give the performance, and that's it. But some directors, like method directors, want to go really deep into the parts. Hitchcock was having none of that, and I don't think his relationship with Newman was that good always. So that is an interesting point. Then we've got Julie Andrews, which might surprise people, who plays Sarah Sherman. Julie Andrews, well, everyone going, yes, it is. It's Mary Poppins, 1964. That's what internationally she was well known for. The Sound of Music, 1965. Wow, these were massive films. And there she is in this. Yeah. Again, it's not a choice that Hitchcock would have made. But she did have a good career. And she's still with us, actually, as well, and still working. The Taramyn Sea, 1974, she did. 10, 1979. That was Dudley Moore, Bo Derek. I remember that one. That's famous. And then she was in S.O.B., which was directed by her husband, Blake Edwards, who, of course, was doing the Pink Panther films. Victoria was a very interesting film. She was in that one, 1982. And a much later one, The Princess Diaries, 2001. But I know she's done a lot of voice work in recent years. I think Shrek, she's been involved in the Shrek films. What a career. But again, a lot of people don't think a performance is very good in this, because not on particularly her, but the fact is that the chemistry just doesn't seem to be there with Paul Newman. And Hitchcock, again, it's not his choice, but there we are. Personally, I think she does okay in it. She's all right. She's not bad. None of them are bad in this film. It's just that the chemistry that we've seen, it's quite sexual often and very tight. It doesn't. It's not there. That's it. And that's one of the characteristics about Hitchcock, that underlying sexuality. Yeah, it's really there. The sex part and the attraction, we don't get that with these two. But there we are. But there is some humour there, which is okay with his interscript. I think maybe Hitchcock would have perhaps even preferred more humour in this. Yeah, I think that's very possible. Then we've got Lila Red Rover, who plays Countess Kuranska. She was one of those actresses that Hitchcock loved, but they all were little small roles. She was in Zoba the Greek. That was 1964. Soft Beds Hard Battles, 1974, which is a comedy Peter Sellers film. And, of course, Polanski's The Tenant. She's in that, 1976. Yeah, excellent. And then we've got Hans-Georg Felmy, who plays Heinrich Gerhard. He's a German actor, lots of German stuff, and I couldn't really pick anything out of other films. Then we've got an interesting casting here. We have got Tamara Tumanova, who plays the ballerina, and what an interesting character she is. She is an actual ballerina. Yeah. She was a Russian exile from the Bolshevik Revolution. As a child, she was performing, and she had a massive career as a ballerina. And she appeared in 6 films, apparently. There she is. Yeah, and she's in this film. Then we've got Wolfgang Keiling playing Gromek, who is excellent. He adds something very important in this film, nastiness, which is there. You could say he's the villain. The most notable film is, I can see, The Vengeance of Fu Manchu, 1967, Christopher Lee, brilliant film, wouldn't get made nowadays. Yes, that's it. Okay, so locations as well. Just mention locations. Locations, as usual, a lot of it is done in the studio with the back screens. We've got locations in Copenhagen, Denmark. We've got Berlin, Germany, and we've got some in California. And then it's all the Universal Studios. Usual Hitchcock way of filming. The script, as I say, is the problem of this film. And I mentioned it a lot, and I think that is how Hitchcock was so disappointed in this film for that reason. Let me just talk about the plot. The American scientist, Professor Michael Armstrong, played by Paul Newman, he defects publicly to East Germany. But the complication for him becomes that his assistant and fiancée, he hasn't told her, and she follows him and wants to know what's going on. And this kind of complicates things for him, because it's all, of course, a cloak and dagger spy thing. He is there to find this formula, this solution to a formula with this professor at the university, and then get back to the West with it. I mean, that is the simple plot. But of course, it's all got the various strands to it, and it's a real on the edge of the seat thriller, and that's what it should be. Wondering what's going to happen. And you certainly do wonder what is going to happen. And it is a wonderful, wonderful Hitchcock direction. Some great scenes in there. Just one word about this. There's a fight scene in which, well, it's Gromek, the baddie, and Hitchcock filmed it because he wanted to show that to kill somebody can be very, very difficult. And it certainly is in this. We see the struggle, and it's the way it's done and directed is absolutely amazing. And he's saying, look, you can't just, you see these films of people just bumping people off. He wanted to show that death and murdering somebody can be quite difficult. Yeah. And he shows that brilliantly. As I said, this film just wonderful the way it's put together. I can't help but absolutely love it. Really. I think the problem is, of course, because we've had all these wonderful films all coming together right from the 1950s in a big line of films. And we've got to this. I mean, the previous one we had, Marnie. I absolutely loved it. And I think that was considered maybe the last at this time. And this seems a disappointment. I can see people thinking that. But to be honest, I had a really good time watching this. It's a good story. It's well put together, as you would expect. It's got the Hitchcock take all over it. The touch is fantastic, the way it's done. There is some amazing scenes. Why people I can't play, I don't know. Well, I do, as I've just said. I've contradicted myself because of what has come before. But that shouldn't put you off watching this. You just put it into that. It's because he's been so good that this feels perhaps a bit more of a disappointment. But I enjoyed it. And it kept me gripped. If a film keeps you gripped and guessing what's going to happen, and there's some brilliant sequences and chases and situations of peril and getting out of that. And of course, that, as I said, this fight scene is pretty chilling and really done well. Then this film has a lot going for it, and I totally enjoyed it. Totally. I really did. I can't say more than that, really, can I? But I highly recommend it. It's a great box set. And just before I go, as I always do, there it is. Brilliant box set. Wow, what a box set. And that's it. So, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe, and we'll let you know when I put out these videos. And have a look in playlists, and you can see all the previous reviews I've done from this box set. Also, all the other things I do on the channel. And if you like this particular video, please give it a like. It gets it out to YouTube and all algorithms and all that stuff. And if you've got any comments, please put your comments down. I really do love to read your comments. Your comments are great. As they all cost notes. You can't say fair and that, can they? Buy it, you can. Buy it, you can. So that's it. I've been going on far too long. All I gotta say is, I'll see thee again.